The question of the brother was, how do we respond to some of these professors in universities who say that in the time of Imam Ahmad, the Muslim Ummah was waiting to become intellectually advanced, but then when these Imams of the Sunnah came along, they put an end to that intellectual, that so-called intellectual advancement. Okay, so how do we respond to these people? To be honest with you, the answer is a bit lengthy in detail, but in principle, we understand that these people, in fact, this will be tomorrow's lesson as well. These professors, these people who look at Islam and study Islam, they're Orientalists. We call them Orientalists. And these people really study Islam from an angle really to support their own objectives. So they go into Islamic history, they study Islamic history, they study the Arabic language, they study the Quran, they study the Hadith sciences. All of these things that they are studying, not because of objective study, but it's to study in order to undermine the Muslims, and to undermine their unity, and to undermine them from going back to the true religion. This is the angle that they come from. So the reason why they support the Mu'tazilah is because the usul of the Mu'tazilah have the same foundation that the Western civilization has its foundations. Because Western civilization is founded upon the Greek philosophy, upon the writings of Aristotle, the writings of Plato, right? That's what Western civilization is actually founded upon. So when they saw that in Islam, when they see and look at Islamic history, they see that what happened in Islamic history is that foreign influences came into the Muslims, and those foreign influences actually came from the Greeks. Because kalam, ilmul kalam, is actually from the Greeks. The speech about Allah, His names, His attributes using the language of Aristotle, bodies and actions, all of that is from the Greek philosophers. So they have an affinity to the groups of kalam. This is why when these people, these Orientalists and these philosophers and these professors, when they try to speak about Islam, they always raise the Ahlul Kalam. They put the Ahlul Kalam like this and they say, these were the people who are upon the truth in Islam. They want to promote the Ahlul Kalam. And as for the people of Hadith and the people of Athar and the Imams of the Salaf, that these were backward, these call to stagnation, these call to so on and so forth. And that's the reason why they take that approach. Why? Because they recognize the Mu'tazilah are taking from the same spring and foundation. So that's why they will support the Ash'aris. That's why they will support the Mu'tazilah. That's why they will support all of these groups, because they see a connection between them. Also, you see that many of these professors who write, a lot of them are Christians. And Christian theology, as I said to you, that amongst the Christians there were already the Jahmiyyah, before Islam even came. Because amongst the Christians were those who are speaking about Allah's names and attributes, just like Jahm bin Safwan, and Ja'd bin Dirham, and the Mu'tazilah, and the Ash'aris and the Maturidis. You will find books of these people 200-300 years before Islam. I'll give you a name. A name of a person called Augustine. Augustine of Hippo, a place called Hippo in the Middle East. This was a great scholar of the Christians. To us, in retrospect, he was nothing but a Jahmi Mu'tazili. Why? Because when you look at how he's speaking about Allah, Allah does not have a body, Allah does not have accidents, Allah is not subject to time, Allah does not have a location. Where have we read this before? We've read it in the books of the Ash'aris. We read it in the books of the Mu'tazilah. Where did this come from? So the Christians likewise, because they've inherited the idea of speaking about Allah from the Greek philosophers, from the Jewish Christians affected by that, they have an idea of Allah and monotheism, right? So they promote the Mu'tazilah for that very same reason. Why? Because it identifies with their idea, or their idea of belief in Allah. And then in turn, they will treat Ahlul Sunnah to be anthropomorphists. That's what you will find in their writings, in the journals, in the studies, in the universities. That's what they will teach. The Ahlul Sunnah are the Mushabbiha. And as for the Mu'tazilah and the Ashaa'irah, they are the true monotheists. And that's because those Christians who you find studying Islam, the Christians have already been poisoned by the idea of divinity from Aristotle. Allah is not a body, Allah is not in a direction, Allah is not in a place, Allah is not bound by time. All this comes from Aristotle. So for that reason, that's why they promote the Mu'tazilah and the Ashaa'irah, and they treat Ahlul Sunnah as being backward. And all of that is from the angle really is to prevent the Muslims from their religion. It's got nothing to do with advancement. It's got nothing to do with progression. Nothing to do with the scientific understanding. It's to undermine the Muslims, to cause confusion, and to perpetuate that falsehood.
Isn't it true that most of the Muslim scholars were Mu'tazilis, like Ibn Sina and these scientists? They were all from deviant sects.
Many of these people who are claimed to be Islamic scientists or Muslim scientists, the vast majority of them were upon ilhad. A lot of them were upon ilhad. Ibn Sina and Ibn Rushd likewise he was upon the way of the. They had aspects to them where they were affected by that kalam or by that falsafa, and so we have to be careful when we see a lot of these ignorant Muslims trying to impress upon the non-Muslims, saying that Islam and science and this and whatever and this and whatever and try to make it look as if we can make Islam look good, because there were Muslim scholars who were advanced in biology and this or whatever. This is like a defeatist type of mentality. In fact, it's the same thing. We are seeing the same thing in that time, like the Jahmi and the Mu'tazilah. They felt that they need to argue with these people using their language and their philosophy. Why? Because it was supposed to be the science of the day. And if we don't agree with that, we are seen to be backward. The same thing that we are seeing now. These Muslims, they want to make Islam look good. And what are they doing? They're trying to follow the same standards that if you speak about science and nature and this, you are advanced and clever and intelligent. So if we can impress the same thing upon the non-Muslims, maybe they'll see Islam in the same light. This is batil. This is not the way of calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the way that Abdul Majid az-Zindani, this man, this Ikhwani from Yemen, that's what he's upon. This is what he's upon. It's the way of the Mu'tazila, the way of the Mubtadi'ah. This is not from our way. And this contains, again, it's a type of poison. It's a type of poison. This is not the way that the messengers called to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But again, this will be elaborated upon in tomorrow's lesson, inshallah ta'ala.